Well, today I want to welcome everyone back to Unsaid. This is another episode we have where we're really diving in and talking a little bit more about perimenopause as we wrap up our mini-series. And we're also really honing in on midlife, which is to me anything like, 30 and up, 35 and up. So we'll dive into that. But we're super thankful and excited to have Movewell Physical Therapy and Wellness here with us today. And I'll let you all introduce yourself a little bit more. But I do know that you're located in Chattanooga, which we love rocking some Chattanooga business on here. And you're new to the area in regards to Movewell and located at Fitness Central and Lee Highway. So first of all, thank you both for being here. We're super excited to have you. And I'll let you honestly introduce yourself and then we'll just sort of go back and forth. So whoever wants to begin, tell our listeners about you.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Katie, for having us. My name's Kurtisha. I'm a co-owner along with Cameron here of Movewell Physical Therapy and Wellness. We started about 3 months ago, officially up and running with our doors open. But we've both been physical therapists for about 5 years in the Chattanooga area. And we went to school at UTC for physical therapy school and undergrad at UT in Knoxville. So yeah, we are super passionate about health and wellness and treating and working with women across the lifespan. So yeah, it's a little bit there. Cameron?
I'm Cameron. I'm the other co-owner and co-founder with Kurtisha. Basically just copy paste everything she said.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are super passionate about working with women throughout the lifespan and super excited to be here today.
Yeah.
Awesome. That was perfect. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. Kurtisha and Cameron. I'm going to get it right and I'm going to rock it through this. So awesome. We're grateful to have you. So, I met with you all in like the pre-meeting a little bit to go over like what our perimenopause series has been about. We have a lot of listeners that, listen to us when we were really focusing in on post-pregnancy and postpartum. And, obviously we continue to grow and age. And here we are, many of us headed into or in this perimenopause stage. And for myself, I use myself as the guinea pig. Like I had no idea that this wasn't just like symptoms of me being exhausted as a mother or a business owner or a woman. Like things were happening to my body. And I was just like going through the motion. And so I know we've talked about it and our listeners know we've had a little bit of everyone on here from nurse practitioners to sex therapists, a little bit of everything, but I haven't really brought on a physical therapy, especially a group of two, right? But a physical therapy scope of practice to really dive into like my obviously I'm using myself, but our body's health. Because I think even for women that are not in this stage yet, and they're like, I'm not in this stage, like I've got time. I definitely think as we all discuss, like we could be acting on our body right now. Like we need to, we have most of us have the resources and we say the time, but we have the resources and ability to truly like lean into our physical health. And I'm not just talking like, the cutest, skinniest outfit you could fit into, like physical well-being as the title of your, the name of your organization is. So I want to dive in there. And I thought today we'll start with me because that's how I've done it. Right. And so like, I'm 38 years old. And if I'm coming to you because all of a sudden, okay, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, all of a sudden I have like bizarre, like I feel like I'm pretty athletic. Like I work out 5 days a week. I'll be honest, very cardio driven. Like I got that, like I'm not old enough to be like the jazzercise kid, but if it was, I'd be doing it. And like all of a sudden, like my shoulder's funny as if like I, hurt it injuring and my muscles are just more achy and I feel almost weaker, if I may, like picking my daughter up who's like 6 years old. So she's not a baby. And so I come to you all and I'm like, hey, I'm feeling funky. Where do you begin? Like, what does that start to call out to you through that long introduction?
Yeah. So definitely even though, you're 38, something that is super important for us is patient education. You're 38 right now, but your muscle mass started decreasing at age 30. Unfortunately, 30? That's just 30. Yep. Okay. So there's a stat that women lose 3 to 8% of your muscle mass after the age of 30
per decade.
Yeah. But once you get into menopause, that accelerates by 1 to 2% more every year. So you're 38 right now, but your muscles started, shrinking basically at age 30 if you're not counteracting that.
Okay. So when I turned 30, and I didn't even have my daughter till 32. So my body hadn't even gone through whatever that did. So 30 years old, I begin the process of muscle, it's going away, deterioration, whatever you want to call it. My muscle mass is shrinking. What'd you say, 8 to 10%?
3 to 8%.
3 to 8. And so
after the age of 30 per decade.
Per decade. And so I'm almost to the end of this decade. So I've lost, let's just say, an average of 5%. I'm going into my 40s in 2 years. The next decade, most likely will lose another 3 to 8%. And then if I hit menopause when my mom did around early 50s, I'm going to lose an additional 1 to 2% every year.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for that stat. So just start there. Like, I'm already feel like I'm 8 years behind. So what do we do? Like, because again, I can run all day, but I know that is not necessarily muscle mass building. So keep going with that. That's amazing.
Totally. Yeah. So we would definitely look at your overall exercise routine. That's a huge part of what we do. Like, what does your life look like already starting out? And so if you're focusing on cardio, like how many days a week, like how long are you doing cardio, et cetera. And then if you're complaining of an actual shoulder problem too, we're going to do a full assessment of that to see what's going on there. Like you brought in the shoulder. But we're going to bring in some strength training ASAP, like as soon as possible. If the shoulder's not too irritable, we're going to be starting that day one for sure and getting into functional movement patterns and lifts and start getting you comfortable moving weights and like teaching you the different kinds of exercises that we recommend that are kind of best bang for your buck, basically, and get you going with it. Like ideally 2 to 3 times a week is a great kind of place to be generally for strength training for women, really for anyone. You can do more, of course, but we definitely don't recommend less than 2 times a week. But you can even start with once just to start getting it into your routine and getting comfortable with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I already heard tons of to-dos, 2 to 3 times a week and like strength training. So tell us what that is.
Good question.
Yeah.
So strength training is any kind of resistance training. A lot of people, especially women, will think, like body weight exercises because that might make them skinnier, but it is resistance. But you need, cables, free weights, barbells. You need actual resistance against your body weight for the maximum, bang for your buck and gains for muscle mass.
Mm-hmm. So all that's going to be stimulating your muscles and bones to grow, even if it's to just strengthen. There's different levels of that, of course. I'm hesitant with the word grow because a lot of women do get really funny with the bulking thing. However, it takes so much work to legitimately get bulky. Like it's a total lifestyle. Like you have to be really eating a ton of protein 5 to 6 days a week. Like our hormones as women are not set up to get bulky like men, like whatever, bulky. But like me and Cameron, we've been strength training very consistently for like 7 years now. Eight, almost 8 years. No one would look at us and be like, oh, they look like men. But like we lift heavy weights on a weekly basis for sure. So anyways, just to kind of touch on that as well, because a lot of women do kind of shy away for sure going towards the body weight things, like she said, for the toning sort of aspects. But in order to get tone, you need to build muscle so that there's something to show the tone of.
Yeah, and no, I'm so glad thank you for bringing that up, because it is such and even like I know that, but even in the back of my mind, like I'm like, well, if I just run, like I got 30 minutes to run today, which heart health is a huge thing. So like I want cardio, but absolutely. And if I'm following your initial statistic, right, I'm losing enough muscle mass that there's no way I'm going to look like the Hulk strength training 2 or 3 times a week with the loss of muscle mass and the increase. So absolutely. Exactly. So while, obviously I would love everyone to like come meet me at the gym and let's just go and use all the equipment, for those listeners who maybe even exercise isn't a thing, they have never strength trained, like where would you start? What could you do at home?
Totally. You want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly can start with body weight, squatting and push-ups. If you have a place where you can do pull-ups, anything like that. Yeah. Starting with body weight is good, but it's just not going to get you long-term those benefits that you need to counteract, the effects as we age and the effects of menopause and getting into your midlife. It's just not enough. So body weight exercise is fine to start, but you really, if you want to work out at home, you need to get yourself, a kettlebell, a couple sets of dumbbells, something like that. Maybe some like bigger resistance bands, not necessarily like the tiny little loops. Women love the little loops, but I'm talking like the power band resistance bands where you can do lat pull downs, you can do rows, you can do deadlifts with them. That's a pretty solid starting point if you want to work out at home.
Yeah, you should be getting kind of fatigued with an exercise depending on your goals, but in general for strength training, between 8 and 12 reps. If you're really cranking out 15 to 20 plus repetitions and maybe you get a good muscle burn at that point, sure, but you could keep going kind of all day long, like with your little bicep curls with your pink 5-pound weight.
Yeah.
That's cute, but it really is not going to ultimately stimulate, again, like those muscles and bones to actually increase the bone density, getting into that a little bit, and then stimulating the muscles to increase their resilience to loading. So yeah, you really do need a certain amount of loading in order to be fatiguing. Like I said, between 8 and 12 reps is a good kind of starting place there.
No, and I'm glad you say that too, because there's that mentality. I go back and forth with my husband on this, but I used to think well, I'm not going to lift like the 35-pound dumbbells. I can do more with the 5-pound pink ones, but really that's not the case. I need to be doing heavier. I mean, safely doing heavier. And you're saying 10 to 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good starting range there. For sure.
Okay. So while my listeners, I know some of them because they comment all the time, they're going to be like, okay, Katie, like now you've given us exercises to get, and my muscles are going away. Like, I get it. Like, why is it important for us to be so aware that we are losing muscle mass and to work on that? Like, what is that going to do for us in the future?
So many things.
Yeah. Jeez, everything. Yeah. Muscles are everything.
Yeah.
I mean, muscle strength and muscle function are a huge determining factor of our function as we age. Just think, you're 90 years old. Do you want to be able to get up from the floor? It's your muscles that are going to help you do that. Do you want to be 65 and be able to carry all of your groceries in one trip still? It's muscles that help you do that. So it's making your quality of life better. I've seen a lot, on social media about how cardio can help you live longer for like heart health and all that, which is awesome. But resistance training, strength training, and getting strong helps that long life actually be a good life and have better quality of life.
Mm-hmm. So you just, I got the call out there, like, while heart health is good, and it's good, and the running is good. Like, you're right. I could have a hell of a heart, but I can't get out of the chair to use the heart.
Yes. Yep. And we see that a lot because we do work with older patients as well, older clients. And we hear that all the time. They're like, oh, I used to be a track star. I kept running as long as I could. And then at some point, you're going to meet a crossroads where it's not enough. And the same is with resistance training, just to kind of bring that into, like, we tell this with anyone that just does one lane of type of exercise. Like, if you're just a yogi, if you're just a weightlifter, if you're just a runner, regardless, like, you're at some point going to have an issue come in because you're doing a repetitive, like, one type of exercise. So you're going to run into something where you need to bring in a well-balanced routine. So that is important to note as well. We just really push strength training because it is by far like the most lost, I think, and it's becoming more popular, which is really exciting, especially with women. But yeah, it's just a lot of people don't want to do it.
And to kind of go off of that too, like, it's totally fine if you have, one mode of exercise that you love and that you're passionate about and that you want to do the majority of the time. You just can't forget about the other aspects of wellness and fitness. Yes. So if, for instance, you can continue running. That's totally fine. That's awesome. I'm jealous. I wish I loved running. I don't. But you just can't forget the other aspects, which we care most about: strength training.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I am, I do go to the gym, and I do see so many more women in the strength training of all ages, like, all walks of life doing it. And it is empowering. But I do know, like, it's also hard to just, of course, the get to the gym, it's hard to, or do it in the house. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to go. We have our garage set up. I'm like, I don't want to go out there. Like, it's cold. I don't know why I can run, better. You know, I'm like, I can run outside, but I don't want to be in the cold. Like it's not logical, but no, that gives so much insight. And so bring me into, because when I met with you all, we talked a lot, well, you mentioned a lot about bone health. Like bring me into bone health now, because my mother obviously is older than me. And we talk a lot about that because now she's in this stage of like, you know, her bones have changed enough where like osteoporosis, like brittle bones is such a thing. And now I'm like scared to death. So connect me into my bone density, if you may.
Yes, very passionate about that as well. I saw that with my grandmother. It like really affected her quality of life, for sure. So that's been a big deal for me and was a big motivator for me in the first place, why I got started strength training. But yeah, osteoporosis is huge. It's a really big deal. It affects 80%, so 10 million Americans are diagnosed with osteoporosis right now. 80% of them are women, and 1 in 2 women in general across all females over the age of 50 will have some sort of osteoporosis related fracture. So
50%.
Yeah.
That is
over 50.
Shocking.
That's a huge, that's like
problem.
Crazy. Yeah.
Big problem.
Really common in wrists, shoulders, hips big, in backs, your spine. And those can come in so easily. At that point, when you get old enough, and if you are that fragile, if you have not been working the resilience of your body for years, then you could even cough. It doesn't even take a fall. You could even cough and like fracture a bone. Or actually a lot of falls where you think like, oh, they fell and broke their hip. They actually just took a step, broke their hip first, and that caused the fall. So people don't even realize that.
Sure.
It's not even always the fall that even is fracturing. Like you can get to the point of being like that, like you said, brittle and just fragile. Anyways, all that to be said, it is so crucial. Like strength training is one of the best ways to prevent that, because it's literally stimulating your bone cells to create more bone cells and increase the density and the strength of them. Okay. And if you're combining that with a good diet and getting lots of protein and everything, like that's key. And people get so afraid, and part of that's the issue of the medical community as well, more traditional mindset. We work with a lot of older ladies that once they're diagnosed with osteoporosis, their doctors tell them to be super, super careful. They probably get put on some sort of shot that does minimal to nothing. They're not being educated on strength training. They're not being educated on the dietary changes that are crucial. And they're being told to like go swimming for exercise, which, okay, if you're that far gone, which no one's really that seriously far where they can't do any strength training to any degree unless there's like a pain scenario that we could work on. But they're told to do like swimming. That's not weight bearing activity like strength training is. And so it just makes a big difference. So yeah, strength training, great for bone health.
No, and so so pretty much the title, strength training, like, and I love it. Like it needs to be, but so that I'm picking up on other things. Like, I'm so glad you say that, because you're right. As we age, this happens a lot in mental health too. Like people that come to me with anxiety and depression. So I'm connecting them, but like we're fragile. Like be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. They're really, really sad. Or be careful, like her bones are going to break. And while to a degree, I'm sure, like there's, don't try to bench press 500 pounds, I'm sure. But we've got to flip the script and reframe. Like you cannot be fragile. Like the more you don't move, the worse it's going to get. Right. And that's what I hear you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And while like, absolutely, it is best to start as early as you can. I don't care if you're 20, like you need to start strength training to build those reserves for when you're 90. Mm-hmm. We talk a lot between the two of us and also, with our friends and our patients, but like at this point, we're not working out to be like, sexy or aesthetic. Like we are working out for our old lady body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are our goals. We still want to be able to pick things up from the floor, pick ourselves up from the floor when we're 80 years old.
I mean, you two both, you yourselves are literally your weight training. I mean, your strength training for yourself down the road. Your strength training, you said for your old lady body, but you're just strength training for the rest of your, like to live quality life as long as you can.
Absolutely. So that's why we lift now, but that doesn't mean it's ever too late.
Yeah.
It is never, ever too late to start strength training or get back into strength training. Maybe you're 60 and you used to do it when you were 25.
Yeah.
You think, I'm probably too far gone now. I'm in my midlife, maybe past my midlife.
Yeah.
Why should I start that?
Yeah.
It is never too late.
Mm-hmm. Never too late. I love that. So it's never too late. And I think that no matter what, that's a good thing for people to hear, because it's easy to say, like, even our listeners that are already in or postmenopausal, they're like, forget this stuff. Like, doesn't apply to me. Like, it can, and it does continue to apply. So that's amazing. That's amazing. So you said one more thing, I'm going to keep jumping every time you bring in another conversation, which was protein. And again, this triggers my brain because I have this conversation with my spouse all the time, because I know I don't eat enough protein. Like, I don't like meat that much. There's only so many beans you can, take down, that type of thing. But tell us from the nutritional aspect, the importance of protein and this strength training, how we can get it, what we can do with it, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's massive. Do you know about how many grams of protein a day you tend to average for yourself? You give a range.
Probably under 50.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. You need more. Yeah.
So yeah. Mm-hmm. And can I say too, okay, under 50, now that I know that's the response, we will work on that. And that's like, think about like my 3 meals, like let's say I do 3 meals a day. Like I do I try to get eggs at breakfast, right? Like anyways, I'm stop making excuses. I've been adding Greek yogurt. I'll do like a bowl of black beans and rice at, lunch, and then maybe some kind of, hopefully, chicken dish at dinner or whatever. But that's me trying. So
yeah.
All right, go ahead. Tell me why.
Okay. So I know we usually hear like the recommended protein amounts like in kilograms per body weight. So we converted that to pounds because kilograms, you need to do math. We don't speak kilograms.
No.
So the minimum recommended amount of protein for just bare minimum health, bare minimum is 0.45 to 55 grams per pound of body weight. So like for a 150-pound woman, that's going to be about 68 to 83 grams.
Okay.
So again, it does bare minimum. To maintain your muscle mass, there's a good range to look at for kind of optimal, at least. So to maintain it, 0.6 to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. So that's going to equate to, again, for about a 150-pound woman, about 90 to 120 grams per day.
Okay. Got it.
And then if you want to actually grow muscle, because if you're like, oh, I'm maybe a little bit behind, like I haven't really focused on this in a long time. I've been really behind in my protein intake for a while. Like I haven't really been focused on this. So if you want to try to grow muscle for a period of time, you really need to aim for 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of your body weight, aka about 120 to 150 grams per day of protein if you're about a 150-pound woman. Again, we just kind of went with some easy math there. So I do tend to recommend to most people, like, just aim for your body weight in grams of protein, because then if you land a little bit lower than that, because that's hard to do. So if you land lower, you're still in a really good range. So that can be an easy way to just be like, I'm 140, whatever, 150 pounds, and then I'm going to aim for that. But if you're starting around 50 pounds or around 50 grams, however, I would say increase that slowly. 1, so that you can try to stay consistent in it. And then 2, so that you don't like wreck your digestive system if you just really quickly make those changes. So maybe try to increase it by like 20 grams a day across a 1 or 2 week period. Get consistent there and then slowly continue to increase it. Because it is like, it involves habits that you have to build into your day. We've both went through that, like having like periods where we've had to try to push our protein. And it is hard at first, just like anything that you try to change that you're not used to.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Well, then I know, because I've had this discussion with my clients through the podcast, like that, like I felt like I was getting quite a bit of protein in comparison to the conversations I'm having. So that then just shows me that I'm getting nothing, and then people that aren't getting the same as me are really getting nothing. And so now I'm not even maintaining the muscles that are going away.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. No, this is great. And so do you, in your practice, do you recommend ways for us to get protein? Like how to, not easily, because I know it's a commitment and it's not going to be super easy, but yeah, for me to get protein ways, I guess I'm not getting them.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're not a meat eater, that certainly adds a challenge. I feel like I've had this conversation like 5 times in the past couple weeks with a few of my clients, because there's a lot of women that just like don't really enjoy eating meat.
Yeah.
And you just like really have to like do your research. So for instance, a lady I was talking to a couple weeks ago, she ate a lot of black beans. So I pulled up, Professor Google and, just Googled how many grams of protein are in a serving of black beans. I don't exactly remember how much it was, but then I looked up how much were in like chickpeas, and it was a pretty big difference. Okay. So even just like making the switch, for your lunch, going from black beans to like a chickpea meal can make a pretty big difference. But honestly, you will probably have to supplement in some way, whether it's like protein bars, protein shakes, something like that. You're probably going to have to supplement.
Which we do as well, and we eat meat. So it's just like a really easy way to get an extra 20 to 25 grams in by adding in like a shake. And they're usually pretty yummy if you find a good brand. So adding in a shake, a cheese stick, like that's an extra 10 grams, like as a snack with some nuts maybe. Yogurt is amazing. Greek yogurt. You can get, you have to really pay attention to your sugars and stuff. That's a whole different conversation. Sure. But you can get an extra, if you're really like dressing it up, like between 15 up to 25, 30 grams in a little yogurt snack. Those are kind of some easy ways that I like to start with recommending. Just really snacks can make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Just more frequently throughout the day.
Fill it in.
And even like with the Greek yogurt, we both eat a lot of Greek yogurt. You can even put protein powder in the Greek yogurt and make it even more full of protein. I did that for quite a while.
I'm doing that right now, like every day. It's like my favorite snack. I like look forward to it. I have a half scoop of protein powder in my yogurt that's already high protein. So, and then I have like some granola that has protein in it, and also put some peanut butter in it. So after all of that, I end up with like 35 grams of protein in just my little yogurt snack that I eat between lunch and dinner. And it's like so tasty. I put some blueberries on there, a little bit of honey. It's so yummy.
She is the protein queen for sure.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I mean, we need the ideas, right? I mean, I know there's Pinterest and things, but it's so much more empowering to like hear someone else doing it, and then you're like, oh, I can do that too. Like, no, I appreciate it, and I think it's so. This is why this episode's so great, because we're so used to culture. I work with a lot of women with like eating disorders and body image challenges and things. We were so used to in culture to like no calories, right? Like sip water. Only cardio, that type of thing. And this is really we're like flipping the script, like eat food, like nourish your body with good, right? Like get the calories in, do big movements. I'm not going to be like, whatever the competitions are where like they show their muscle. I'm not going to be that. Like I get, and that's not my goal, but I'm just going to be like thriving and living a quality life when I maybe have grandchildren one day.
Exactly. Yeah. And it builds your self-confidence so much too when you think about like women with body image issues, which to a degree, who doesn't have that? But it does really build your confidence a lot. Once you get in there, after you push through the discomfort of like not really, when you're a beginner, you don't know what to do and you're going to feel awkward in the weight room. But hopefully you can like maybe find a friend that can you can start working out with or something like that, and like get through that discomfort at the beginning. And then once you get into it, like your confidence literally skyrockets because you start like meeting these goals and upping your weight. And then you get to a point where you're like, oh, that's a big weight I'm picking up. And that's really cool. And then maybe someone else makes a comment on it. And that it's just like, it's an amazing community and like situation. Like once you really get into it, it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Community. I'm glad you bring that up. And before we go any more, because I have a few more questions for you all and probably a few more topics to cover, we're going to take a short break to talk to our local sponsors, and then we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, are you ready to awaken your power? We've got something exciting just for you. Beneath the Surface is an amazing event hosting platform where women have come together to bring speakers, insight, knowledge on women's health topics that no one wants to talk about. And Beneath the Surface will be local in Chattanooga, Tennessee this April 5th to offer an event on perimenopause and menopause, and it's called Awaken Your Power, hence the beginning of this commercial. This isn't just another seminar. It's not just another workshop. It's actually a chance chance to learn, connect, and empower yourself through one of the biggest transitions that any of us will go through. Remember that almost every single woman will go through perimenopause and menopause. Every single one, okay? So on April 5th, we ask you guys to come join us for an unforgettable experience where we'll dive into the physical, emotional, and mental health changes and sexual health changes that come with perimenopause and menopause, and most importantly, how you can navigate through those changes with confidence and strength. So whether you're in the middle of it, just starting to experience it, or you want to support others around you, maybe you've been through it, please come join us. It's going to be great. It's not just about the knowledge, it's about leaving these events feeling empowered, supported, and ready to embrace the next chapter of your life. We want quality of life at this point, right? Don't worry if you can't make it in person. If you're not local to Chattanooga or that's too far to travel on April 5th, they've got you covered with a virtual attendance option. So it's going to be, you can be anywhere and be a part of this life-changing event. That's not all. Beneath the Surface will continue bringing you future events that tackle important topics for women. So follow them on social media. We'll place it in our description. You can see the website listed here. Awaken Your Power with them. Awaken Your Power has limited slots and they want everyone to know to get your tickets now. Visit their website. Again, you can register for in-person or you can register for online, but we hope to see you there. Awaken Your Power and Beneath the Surface, where women learn to thrive.
So we've been talking just midlife health, obviously overall, and obviously my previous episodes have really focused in perimenopause, but I did really want you all to come in and like focus on menopause itself, what you see it being through your scope of practice, and how, you know, your scope of practice and everything we went over is like absolutely positively needed, as if we were taking a medicine to stay alive. So go there.
Absolutely. So just in general, you know, with menopause, you have decreased estrogen hormone. And then with that, a lot of times you experience bone density loss. It starts around then. You have decreased muscle mass, which we talked about earlier in the podcast. A lot of women experience brain fog, fatigue, kind of mood issues, depression, anxiety. I'm sure you talk to a lot of women about that. Also hot flashes, you know, menopause related weight gain, and then just kind of lower energy, just kind of feeling depleted. Conveniently, exercise and strength training has a positive effect on all of those things.
Yeah. Strength training in particular, they're doing a lot of research and showing that it actually helps to have an effect on balancing out your hormones and regulating your hormone levels during this time when they're inevitably changing. And so that's really helpful in those kind of mood things and the hot flashes even, which is a cool, like, surprising and fun fact.
Say, for instance, you're a woman going through menopause and you're hearing about all these changes and experiencing all these changes going on in your own body, and you want to get into physical activity, you want to get into strength training, but you have shoulder pain or you have back pain. You need to see a physical therapist to address your pain so that you can more easily and more efficiently get into that strength training without either hurting yourself further or causing other issues. So if you are listening to this podcast and you want to get into strength training, but so either you don't know how or you have an active issue that's bothering you and keeping you from doing daily activities or exercise, definitely see a physical therapist, especially, one that's very fitness forward, who works out themselves and, knows the things that you need to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And along
perfect.
those lines, after the time of menopause is when arthritis starts to become really common, and you've been really protected by some of those effects. Like your joints have been protected by your estrogen levels with those younger ages. And a lot of people don't know that exercise, strength training, and cardio and stretching is actually really good for arthritis. People think they're doomed once that big A word starts getting thrown around because, oftentimes they're told that from a medical professional,
Sure.
which is unfortunate. But again, the latest research is showing us that by keeping everything like the muscles surrounding the joints really strong, by keeping everything moving, that helps to literally lubricate the joints to help decrease that feeling of pain. So even if you most of us are going to get arthritis, but it doesn't have to be symptomatic. So I wanted to kind of bring that in as well, because that can be a big limiting factor. Like she said, people don't want to hurt, obviously,
Yeah.
and you think it's dangerous and like bad for your body, going to damage something if you're having pain with exercise, maybe that's due to the arthritis, but maybe you need some guidance on backing it up, meeting you where you're at, and then progressing you back to being able to do anything that you want to without pain, of course.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bringing yourselves into the situation, but bringing physical therapy, because again, to the old school, let's just call it Western medicine, but the box that we've all been put in, like, to me, I have to have a full blown, like, I had to have like busted my shoulder injury to go see you, right? And that's not necessarily the case at all. And so I think that's good for everyone to hear, and not to be hindered by arthritis or age, because those are also not hindering factors from seeing you all. If anything, we should again be seeing you and learning and growing. So no, I'm so glad that you bring that up. And on menopause, obviously, like, I feel like I've beat the perimenopause and menopause symptoms into the ground in everybody, in all of my listeners' heads. But like, your point of bringing that up was that strength training and taking care of our body can help limit the suffering of these inevitable symptoms, because they are inevitable. Most of us will go through menopause, and 52% of the U.S. population are women. So it's a lot of women in menopause at some point. These can then make that less intense, or maybe not feeling at all. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't just have to sit there and take it.
Yeah.
There are steps and things that you can do to take care of it and at least decrease the severity of the symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to sit there and take it. Yes. Oh. Get out of my woman power train. Well, take us in, because in the pre-show and a little bit now, we just talked about like frozen shoulder, which I've heard more and more about, because of course, now that attention is coming to a lot of this stuff doesn't just happen when you're over 50. Like, these topics are coming hot. Tell us about that, because I'm really interested to learn more about that as a symptom of menopause.
Yeah. So for those that are listening and don't know, frozen shoulder is another word for it is adhesive capsulitis. It's in the shoulder, obviously. And basically it's where the joint capsule itself like starts adhering to itself. It causes a lot of joint restrictions and mobility restrictions. You often can't like reach out to the side or reach up overhead. And it can be like very limiting with your quality of life. And, in school and in medicine for a long time, we've learned like the common patient population is, women age 45 to 55. Well, turns out there's a lot of research coming out where that's basically showing decreased estrogen leads to like fibrosis of the joint capsule. So when you're going through menopause or perimenopause and your estrogen starts to decrease, it can literally put you at a predisposition for developing frozen shoulder. And frozen shoulder is something that we see all the time in physical therapy, and we can treat it pretty well, but it is not a fun experience for anyone involved. It's not fun for us. It's not fun for the patient. So that's just an interesting tidbit, if you will, just showing the connections. It's not just, I have low energy and my muscle mass is depleting. There are physical changes in the joint and joint capsules themselves that can be happening.
So hopefully now that we're learning more about that, we can get some more research in the future on like actually preventing it, because most healthcare systems and like most researchers don't care that much about the prevention side of things. But hopefully now that we're kind of learning some of those connections, we can look even further back on like, okay, why? And is there something we can do about it? Like, if you do strength train and regularly stretch, like, theoretically in my head, why should it get to that point? Because adhesive capsulitis, frozen shoulder gets very, very stiff and limited, like where you cannot reach very far at all. Yeah. So anyways, it would be interesting to see. Hopefully research can continue progressing across the span for women, really.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, even if it's more research about the combination of like strength training and flexibility training along with like hormone replacement therapy or something like that. Like, it doesn't have to be like only strength training or only medicine. Like, it can be and, not or.
Yeah. Whoa. You get a lot of like I feel like bumper sticker things happening here, like and not or, like I like it.
Sit there and take it.
Yeah. This is some Movewell merch swag stuff happening here.
I love it.
Just throwing it out there. No, and I think that's the biggest thing. And like that really like brings it all together is that I've interviewed multiple practitioners, multiple scopes of, of medicine, scopes of practice, as many of them say. And it's no one way is the right way. Together, right? Not that you need every single thing, but together, like that's how we should be approaching things. And sadly, especially for women's health, that has not been the case, that it's very in the box. And so I'm always so myself empowered when I meet with individuals such as yourself, because you're right. Like it's the whole picture. You have to take it all in and you have to find the right fit for you. And don't let like what happened 30, 40, 50 years ago and all the junk being said, about the skinniest you and the, whatever to really lead the way. This is the new way, right? I mean,
yeah,
I can preach it.
Exactly.
But, yes. Okay. So there was my little soapbox thing, but anything else through like, honestly, really hitting like 35 and up, especially, or 30 and up, now that I know that my muscles have been deteriorating for 8 years, but 30 and up that we haven't hit that you think our listeners can take away from what you all brought. So one more thing, but let's bring in pelvic floor like therapy, pelvic floor awareness, pelvic floor, all of it, because again, I'm bringing myself. I did have pelvic floor therapy after giving birth, which I was so astonished by what it does, but really finding out that the pelvic floor is like to the woman's body, like the central, I don't even know what to say. So I'm going to let you all take it off and enlighten us of why this is important as we continue to age to understand this part of our body.
Yeah, a big part of it is just that it's not talked about, but it's a really common issue. Don't have any stats prepared for that, but It's super common. I have also been through pelvic floor therapy myself before I was trained in it to actually take other people through, because I was so, like you said, just amazed by it. Like it really does work. It's awesome. But yeah, no one talks about it. And so it should be talked about more because these are such common issues, like whether that's urinary frequency or incontinence, or same with bowel problems, or pain in the pelvic floor with just daily life or with sex, whatever the case may be. There are just so many issues that come up for us as women in particular, and there's a lot that can be done about it. So you don't need to be listening to either doctors that might tell you, oh, that's normal, just ignore it, like that's part of being a woman and getting older. And like after you have kids is when it's very common for issues to come up. And then you hear from like moms and grandmas and older women in your life, like, yeah, honey, that's life. That's what you get to deal with. And like, it really doesn't have to be like that. And that really, as you're looking, since we are talking so much about like looking forward and across the lifespan, that becomes a huge issue, like that actually puts people in nursing homes. Like they can't take care of themselves and they're not continent of their bowel and bladder. And they end up they lose that independence and they can't make it to the bathroom in time. And that's a burden on any caregiver that's trying to help them with those issues. So they get put in nursing homes. That's one of the most common reasons for older people to have to be taken from their home and from their family and environment. So just looking kind of bigger picture, even further down the road, but it's also very common in active individuals, like especially if you get really into strength training, like really heavily. And it's common in the CrossFit community and even in runners as well. Just a lot of that, like plyometric, anything with a lot of high intensity kind of effort that you're putting forward does put a lot of pressure down on the pelvic floor. And that can turn into a symptomatic issue that needs to be managed and can be managed.
That's it. And can be. And how can it be managed? Like, you don't have to give us like exact, but like what, like, how can you help me with that?
So every presentation is so different because, we see everything from, pregnancy and postpartum pelvic floor issues, which generally we would treat one way, but then like maybe the runner or the CrossFitter, we would treat totally different. Or, a 55-year-old woman going through menopause who never had a kid, so isn't postpartum or anything like that, but still having pelvic floor issues, we would treat all of those women differently just based on their presentations. But in general, there's kind of two routes that we can go. We either need to like strengthen the pelvic floor, or sometimes the pelvic floor muscles are actually too tight and causing issues, and we need to basically down train them and get them to relax and stretch a little bit more.
No, that's perfect.
In late stages of that, like after the symptoms are all managed, guess what? We always end up integrating strength training. Because when you're doing squats, lunges, deadlifts, all of the muscles in the pelvic floor, they're deeply interconnected with like hip muscles and everything. And when you're working to also brace your breathing and your core, that has a big effect on the pelvic floor. So we need to make sure that like at the end of the day, like, sure, maybe you're not like always peeing on yourself anymore, but like when you go to pick up your kid, maybe you get some leakage. Okay, that's a deadlift. We need to work on deadlifting so that you have the ability to brace around your core appropriately, breathe appropriately, and that you have the strength there. Or maybe you were already, like she said, too tense. Again, it can get in the weeds, but we always bring it back to getting you back into like under some load to simulate your functional activities where you're having your issues at to ensure that you meet 100% of your goals. So that's just a big part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why, to me, and I'm going to be really biased to the woman's body here, but like it's so, and I'm not, the men's body's cool too. Okay. But like the woman's body is so amazing. I mean, all human body is so interconnected. Like obviously I'm a mental health therapist. You know, I teach reconnecting the mind and body because people seem to think these are separate entities, but really like the pelvic floor, our muscles, yeah, like our bones and all of it. And my listeners know this very well, my friends and my clients, but I say this to everyone, like, especially for many of us that even have the privilege of listening to podcasts. Okay. So the time and the resources, like we then most likely, I'm not saying everyone, have the privilege of like taking that self-actualization, right? Like taking the time to make sure that we are giving top to bottom of our body, like its optimal resources to survive. I just off camera talked about, you know, spending $1 zillion on meats and different things, you know, so I can get the best meat. I'll go do that, but I won't visit you all to make sure, like, because every time I sneeze, I pee my pants, right? Like, or it hurts during sex. Like that's why this is so important. We have to like slow down and be like, okay, what is important of quality of life? Like, do I want to pick my grandbabies up when I'm 60 or 70? Now I still have a 6-year-old, so like it's weird to think about that, but I do. I want to be the cool grandma that's like got a baby on the hip and like pumping a 50-pounder over. I don't know, but like
right.
Yes. And so we have to, like, we're the only ones that can do this, and women have to advocate for themselves. So that's my second soapbox. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, this is all. Go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
No, I think it is being talked about a lot more, which I think is super important, both, you know, on podcasts and on social media. I could, you know, say a million bad things about social media in general, but I think the one good thing is that women are talking about their experiences more so that we don't, you know, get to the point of being 65 and we're still telling our grandkids that it's part of life that you're going to be peeing yourself. So we're, you know, hopefully, I like to think we're helping, you know, the generations after us while we're helping ourselves.
Absolutely. No. And I'm glad you say, because I just want to insert, like, and again, I've done pelvic floor therapy. I'm working on it, but it like the peeing when I laugh or sneeze has come back, and I'll do it in front of my daughter and I'll be like, oh man, she's like, did you pee your pants again, mama? And I'm like, I did. Like, and you're not going to have to, because I'm going to give you all the resources so that you never pee your pants. But that's it. We spend all this time for the next generation and so on. And so I love it. I love it. For the listeners that are local,
Instagram handle is movewell.chat. Okay. And then our website is movewell-physicaltherapy.com.
You guys are currently located at Fitness Central on Lee Highway, and you do not have to be a member to come see you.
Correct. Yeah. We don't need a doctor's referral. You don't need to be a gym member. Just go to our website, go to our Instagram, send us a message. Let's set up a phone call and let's see if we're a good fit for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do follow you all on Instagram, and I've already learned so much because you are so great at putting out reels and things for us to just learn for free, and we appreciate that.
Are able to do like true physical therapy anywhere in the state of Tennessee. If you're located outside of the state of Tennessee, it would be more on like the wellness side, maybe some health coaching, personal training-ish, stuff like that.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that. The final thing I want everyone to hear is you don't have to have an injury to come to Movewell Physical Therapy and Wellness. Like, come for all of these reasons, and like, let's embrace our bodies where they're at. You two can fix us right up. I will get on my protein, and I'm going to check in one day and be like, listen, 150 50, whatever, 150 grams of protein is
Can't
the way
wait to hear
go.
it, Katie.
Yes. I'll see you. I'll see you at the gym and we'll do it. No.
Yes.
Hey, you two have been fabulous. I've learned so much. We appreciate your time. And I want to say that on April 5th, for our local people, on April 5th, 2025, in downtown Chattanooga, you two are coming to help us at a Beneath the Surface event we're hosting, specifically for perimenopause and menopause. And you're going to bring your knowledge and we're going to learn some strength training things, I think. And so for those of you who want to just like see Movewell more, come join us at Beneath the Surface, April 5th. You'll have that in the description as well. Listeners, we're so grateful to have you all. Movewell, we're so grateful to have you. Remember, this is Unsaid. We're just here to talk about the things people don't want to talk about so that we can do something and rock it out. So everyone have a good day and move well. Thank you so much.